How's it going, everybody? My name is Snazzy Patty, and today we are checking out a video by Stuart Hicks. This video is called How Reality TV Houses Are Built to Break People, man. I like some sloppy reality TV show, I'm sure you do. As always, the link to the original video will be down in the description below, but without further ado, let's lock in.
On January 11th, 1973, over 10 million people tuned in to watch footage recorded from 35 Wooddale Lane. The advertisement for the show, An American Family, featured only the cameraman pointed at film stock of the house.
The family was filmed as they went about their daily routine.
Over the course of 12 episodes, the family of 5 that lived in the home completely fell apart, and the drama of their downfall made for exceptionally riveting television.
You know there's a problem.
What's your problem?
And I'd like to have you move.
Wait, I know we just started, so is this the first ever, reality TV show situation we got going?
Yet none of the events of the show, the infidelity, the divorce, none of it was scripted. The Loud family was instructed to live their lives as if there was no camera present. They were to do nothing differently than they would ordinarily. So, on the surface, nothing about the family or the house was changed for the show. Yet, the house becomes a really critical part of the show's plot. It provides the unrealistic expectations that the family's trying to live up to, especially the matriarch, Pat Loud, who's preoccupied with keeping it orderly. Its oppressiveness prompts the eldest son, Lance, to flee for New York. It also establishes certain production limitations for the show, like the microphones that had to be located in the chandelier above the dining room table, which confined all the important conversations to happen underneath it. If someone didn't want to be filmed, like when Pat told Bill that she wanted a divorce, she just went into a room and closed the door. But if family members or anyone visiting the house were moving about, the production crew would be there to capture it. But the crew was supposed to minimize.
I could never do reality TV. I just couldn't. It's just too much pressure to constantly... Because you would imagine you're constantly thinking of what others at home are going to be thinking and judging you based off of how you act and stuff like that, and you can't... So it's like, you can't even relax in your own home anymore.
Any disruptions to the natural course of the family's life. Just observe and record, like a fly on the wall. Technological limitations at the time, though, it meant that equipment was kind of scattered everywhere. The crew themselves became a part of the environment of the home, like good friends to the family, or even family members themselves. So the house was changed for the show. But the next question becomes then, is that what led to the family's demise? I mean,
That's the thing though, is with the camera crews and all that, it's impossible to get somebody to act like they're not being recorded in this, at all. Even if there's nobody physically there recording them holding a camera, if you know there's audio bugs or cameras hidden around the house and stuff, you're gonna be aware of that and you're going to act differently.
It so happens to coincide with the filming of the show. And in a sense, every reality TV show is like a social psychological experiment.
39 days, 20 people, 1 survivor.
Today's highly produced, even scripted reality shows involve wild scenarios that they just can't be staged in normal, unaltered houses anymore.
It's a house like no other, where 94 cameras follow your every move. And 113 microphones.
God forbid you want to, wank it real quick. God damn, all the stress building up, feeling a little lonely. You want to put on a video off of the hub or something, goddamn? Nope. Not unless you want to have somebody behind the scenes who edit and watch it.
Capture your every word.
These need specially built structures to carry out the self-imposed limitations for setups like groups of strangers that can't leave, or living together and competing while never meeting, or dating without ever seeing one another. The architecture that enables these, they can be downright diabolical if you just analyze them on their face value as a place where people might live. So let's do that. Let's look at the domestic spaces of a few of these reality shows. We can start with the houses from the show Big Brother. They look normal-ish on screen, but
they're extremely game show-esque designed, They're not a normal layout. It's not how an actual floor plan would be laid out, in my opinion.
floor plans reveal the careful engineering and manipulation and the control of the participants that live here for weeks on end. In any other context, these could be read as torture chambers. The torture began for a group of 16 folks in August of 2023 when season 25 kicked off and they entered the house for the very first time. For the next 100 days, they lived in a specially built studio on CBS's Studio 18 lot in Studio City. We follow them as they exit the main staging area into the public zone of their new accommodations. The kitchen and dining are on the left, with the living room over on the right. These spaces are almost completely open, with no corners, literally.
They're all completely connected. Everybody can see each other, have conversations, carry it on to the next room.
Some of them are chamfered. Nor are there any areas to be able to get away from any of the other contestants. This layout forces interaction, and that stokes any latent potential for conflict by denying anyone privacy. Even the angles of the walls and the wood wall at the end.
I mean, on one hand, yeah, it's manipulative and it's kind of, effed up that they're kind of like forcing these conflicts and scenarios to happen. But if they didn't, there wouldn't be too much excitement. The shows would get pretty boring. There wouldn't be a lot going on. So they need the ratings. You know what I mean? We complain about it, but then if they were to fix it and get rid of this issue, we wouldn't watch it.
Forces you to pick a side and then thrusts you into view of the cameras, which we see in the second episode when Izzy confronts Jared awkwardly right next to the rest of the group.
Yes, let me tell you, I don't want you going home.
The decor even reinforces this, with discordant elements being thrust together, divided by just a lightning bolt. This to me feels like the constant goal of the entire design, reinforcing division, encapsulation, and disruption, both physically and psychologically. The destabilizing interior furnishing and design, it continues into the bedroom, where everything is flipped upside down, which I don't think could be any more on the nose. But then there's just the fact that there's a huge disparity between the have-not and the head of household bedrooms. The have-not's room is full of insults and foul food item-shaped sleeping surfaces that are designed to wear on your mental health over time. Sleeping in the head of household room, on the other hand, is the...
You know how pissed I'd be if I gotta spend the next 100 days sleeping on a fucking hot dog, bro? Are we for real?
Coveted prize for each week's competition. It's a luxurious retreat where occupants are treated to privacy and comfort and absolute powers of surveillance over the other spaces of the house. What this does is it creates a huge disparity between the individuals of the show, with a select few gaining access to greater levels of comfort and information than the rest of the people. This creates imbalances in power and unequal levels of control that people feel that they have over their individual environments. Those at the bottom grow paranoid, knowing that they're being watched and observed. And this is heightened by the huge swings between the absolutely public gathering faces, accompanied by spaces like the diary room, which are absolutely private. It's even acoustically isolated from the other spaces and separated by an airlock. It's where individuals dish their feelings about the other contestants on the show. The room's disconnection from the other spaces then leads to paranoia in others that might be thinking about what's happening inside.
Oh, exactly. That's instantly what I'm thinking. Anytime somebody goes behind that door, the fuck you saying about me, huh? What, you can't say it to my face? I would be so defensive and paranoid in these shows.
What are they saying about me? But all of this entire plan is surrounded on all sides, even in between all the spaces, by the production crew and cameras. The people living here, called house guests, have no access to this space. Yet you can feel it as a constant presence of this mysterious zone that you don't know anything about behind every mirror and behind every wall where there should be another room or another space. You never know if someone's in there. So you have to assume that there always is someone there. That's almost literally the stuff of nightmares and feelings of oppressive control from the space around you. Absolute containment coupled with absolute exposure, luxury coupled with discomfort, access to knowledge coupled with restricting information.
It's weird though, because I've watched quite a bit of reality TV. I like the drama. I like the tea. But you never see when they go into the diary rooms or do their little, in one-on-one interviews to the cameras talking crap about the other contestants or what's going on. You never really see them talk about any of this stuff or call this type of stuff out. So I wonder if they even realize that this stuff is affecting them.
That is a recipe for undermining the emotional stability of your occupants. Architects that want to do this to people have been taking notes on this for years. Where Big Brother is designed to create unstable, multivalent alliances while sowing the seeds of division, the show Love is Blind brings people together with the intention of them pairing off in matrimony. And while that sounds more benevolent, the design of their spaces for interaction is no less manipulative and emotionally destructive than Big Brother. The most iconic spaces of the show are called the pods. These are small, soundproof rooms where the participants sit on these plush couches and then they talk to their potential partners through a wall. These pods are the heart of the show, the places where connections are made between people and where the show's central premise takes place, falling in love sight unseen.
I'm the king of first impressions.
You've made a lasting impression.
This is like so awkward.
The pods create a unique environment of isolated intimacy. Each one is a self-contained unit separated from the others by thick walls. Participants can't see each other, they can only hear each other's voices. The lack of visual cues forces them to focus entirely on the conversation, to be able to listen more carefully and to just express themselves more openly than they would otherwise. But this isolation away from other people also heightens the emotional stakes of the encounter. The sterile, minimalist design of the pods, octagonal, with soft lighting and a simple seating arrangement, it removes any distractions, and then there it is again, no corners for somewhere to hide. Participants are pushed to confront their deepest insecurities while feeling safe, indulging in their intense emotional experiences. The blank wall that people are actually talking to, it strips away the usual social crutches of body language and facial expressions that we'd be gathering visually. But it's also
I say, as a species, we need body language and facial cues, as it helps us understand the tone and context of the conversation and how the other person is feeling about that situation or whatever it is that the conversation is about. And I wonder if, just like with texting, due to the lack of body language, facial expression, tonality, if certain things are misconstrued or misinterpreted through conversation, like maybe they meant it this way, but the person interpreted it this way and took offense to it, or whatever that, you know what I mean? That type of situation. I wonder if that happens. That'd be pretty interesting.
also like a psychological mirror that reflects back to you your own emotions and projections. This all leads to actually having a heightened sense of connection with the other person, but it also creates space for misunderstandings and miscommunications. Participants actually fill in the gaps of this information that they're not gathering with their own assumptions and biases, which are coming from them. So this reflection of themselves, it makes them fall in love with themselves a little bit.
I have done a decent job at expressing my feelings about you.
After each emotionally charged session inside of the pods, participants return to a shared living space where they regroup with the other people on the show. This mirrors the same intimacy paradox.
So do they know who they're talking to? Like, I would assume so, because you can recognize each other's voices. Or do they have it where the males and females are separated, or do they mask the voice? Should I watch Love is Blind? I don't know, let me know. Y'all gotta put me onto this, maybe.
This is Big Brother. Because as soon as they leave this cocoon of privacy, they're thrust back into a social setting that demands a completely different kind of interaction. An interaction that's more about social alignment and strategy. And here, the space is conducive to sharing and comparing experiences. It's like the ultimate rec room. It's filled with disarming distractions, activities, and lots of alcohol. The room makes people feel insecure, though, by creating multiple zones within the larger space. This leaves certain people out of certain activities, and it also leaves their back exposed to the group. The group time might build camaraderie and opportunities for mutual
But it definitely might lead to one or two people feeling left out.
support between the people, but it also leads to individuals that might question the legitimacy of the experiences that they had while they were alone over inside the pods.
Is this because of something she told you or something that you heard? Like, is this factual information?
Once pairing off, though, from this closed-off world, the couple is put to the test from the reveal to finally the wedding. The reveal, it takes place in this comically long distance apart from one another, and the space requires traversing. This allows the cameras to capture every reaction as new information comes into focus for both the cameras and the reveal. On the other hand, the wedding thrusts the relationship into public scrutiny. So Big Brother is like this cocoon away from the world, and Love is Blind is like a cocoon away from the world, but then slowly introduces people back into the public life. So there's a kind of continuum here. On the other side of the continuum is Netflix's other hit reality show called The Circle, where public scrutiny is the primary ingredient of the social experiment all along. And unlike Love is Blind's specially built isolation chambers, The Circle is filmed in an actual apartment building. 12 contestants each have their own apartment.
Oh my God, look at the tchotchkes, look at the tchotchkes.
And while they're decorated based on the individual personalities of the inhabitants,
That's cool.
those apartment layouts, they're all identical. All that's possible because the circle doesn't rely on a diabolical floor plan to be able to coax drama and discord. Instead, they have technology that does that for them. In fact, it's the advanced
Let me know, because now I'm interested. That's pretty cool. Is that camera?
technology of small, remotely controlled cameras that we have
Yeah.
today that makes it even possible for the show to take place in this unmodified apartment. Contestants, they all live alone in these apartments, and just like the other shows, they're not allowed to leave. Their physical
See, yeah, but you can see those cameras, man. Like, right there when he's in the shower. Every time I'm going to take a shower, going to bed, like, oh, bro, the toilet's right there. You gotta take a fat shit, bro. A steamy, fat Mondo Duker. They get to watch that. Sure, the audiences at home may not get to see that. Maybe, at most it's a blurred image. But it's even still. That's fucking embarrassing, bro. They gotta be making money off of... How much do people make off of reality shows? I really wonder.
contestants, they all live alone in these apartments, and just like the other shows, they're not allowed to leave. Their physical isolation, though, is mirrored by complete immersion into a social media platform that's built especially for the show.
I've been added to the chat.
It's how contestants interact with one another. It's where they devise strategies and manipulate each other. This, of course, is fully public and exposed, so deciphering veiled innuendos is scrutinized to death by fellow competitors and millions watching at home.
An espresso martini? I feel like people who drink espresso martinis are like middle-aged women.
Those are actually good. I have had those.
So like Big Brother and Love is Blind, there's a huge rift between spaces of deep privacy and isolation that's almost violently juxtaposed with spaces of unfettered exposure out in the world. All the while, the cameras in the circle, they're barely noticeable. You can live your life without a care.
Barely noticeable my ass. Like, that's all I'm drawn to every scene because they look so out of place.
And the social media aspect, it's not really that different from what everyone just does already. I think this makes it just that much more tragic in its premise. Even though it's taken to the extreme, it's barely any different than the strange reality that we live in today. Big Brother creates its own encapsulated world and boosts people from it. Love is Blind slowly releases back everyone into it. And The Circle, it's not really isolated at all. Netflix did put a giant neon circle on the outside of the building that it's filmed in, branding it for exterior camera shots and anybody that just happens to be nearby. But I noticed that in larger context establishing shots, they draw from areas around me here in Chicago and a bit from Milwaukee. But the original building, it's been in England ever since the show began, and it only moved to Atlanta, Georgia for the last couple of seasons. Either way, there's this strange lack of specificity that means it's like everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Everyone is living comfortably in a space that reflects their personal interests, physically isolated while emotionally exposed, in a building that features zero sense of place or local connection. That all sounds like a nightmare that is way too close to reality. When An American Family first aired in 1973, documentaries at the time that were popular were mostly focused on large world events and historically significant people. But that contrasted with scripted television at the time, which shifted inward to the home and focused on things like family dynamics. The top two in the ratings were All in the Family and The Waltons. These kinds of shows connected with the anxiety that Americans were feeling at the time, with the kinds of changes that they were feeling in their home life. Even today, 50 years after that reality TV show experiment, the collision of those genres, documentaries focused on suburban families, it still resonates with audiences around the globe. We're watching these non-actors in their homes having intense encounters between each other, while we too were sitting in our homes. In this scenario, the TV screen, it's kind of like a mirror. It's not so much just a portal into some unrelated fictional fantasy world. I think it's no coincidence then that the cameras in Big Brother, they're disguised behind mirrors too. Of course, we all know that the level of reality TV is totally dubious.
See, that would be easier to get behind if they were actually hidden behind stuff and plants, behind mirrors. I know that's off topic from what he's talking about right now, but just want to throw that in there.
But I think like Fargo's insistence that it's based on true events, or the willful suspension of reality that we have in things like professional wrestling, I think reality TV is immersive in a unique way like those. And the home is an important piece of that equation. The houses of reality TV play out some of the most nightmarish spaces imaginable, while others on the surface seem like blissful, aspirational rewards of the suburban dream, and sometimes they're both at the same time. Clearly, the architecture and design of reality TV shows aren't just backdrops. They're powerful tools for shaping behavior overall, influencing emotions, and orchestrating all sorts of interactions. It's fascinating how spaces can manipulate outcomes and reveal deeper truths about human nature. If there's a
Oh, that's 100%. That's, yeah, I didn't even, never crossed my mind that the room and how it's laid out and stuff like that actually affects your mind.
broader takeaway in this, though, I think it's that environments that we inhabit daily wield the exact same kind of influence. To better understand underlying principles like this, I find myself constantly turning to Brilliant, the interactive learning.
Psych, skipping that ad. Hey man, that was a great video. I really enjoyed that, honestly. Very interesting. Anyways, as always, the link to the original video is down in the description below. Make sure you go show some love over there. Before you do that, make sure you go ahead, like, subscribe, put on post notifications for my channel, man. Let me know what you want to see in the comments down below. Let me know what kind of, like, what's your favorite reality TV show. Mine, personally, was Jersey Shore. That shit was a banger. GTL, all day. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, stay snazzy, and stay blessed.